What's up, everybody? My name is Jacob Hardison, and today we're talking about drift cars. Welcome back, everybody, to, of course, the lovely Adrenaline RC YouTube channel, where today you're going to notice I don't have anything out in front of me, and that is because I am not your host for the day. Well, we've been very busy here in our Winchester location getting ready for the Invitational, which is right around the corner now at the beginning of October. Our great friends over in Chantilly have put together some drift content for you guys. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably on the racer end of things, but over in that store, we do have a full drift track, and one of our top sellers over there is a brand or a company called Bingo RC. So today you're going to get to hang out with my good friend Colin and the owner of Bingo RC, Rudy, to learn the ins and outs of the history of Bingo RC. So I will catch up with you guys in a future video, but for now, hang out with my buddy Colin, hang out with Rudy. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'll see you guys soon.
Hey guys, I'm Colin from Adrenaline RC Racing, and today I'm joined by Rudy from Bingo RC Designs, and we're going to go over the origins and history of Bingo RC Designs and Rudy's, I guess, introduction into RC drifting. Rudy, thanks for coming in and explaining the story, because I know I've been asked your story probably 50 times in the shop here, but now we're getting it directly from the source here. So again, thank you for coming along and
happy to
talk about it effectively.
Yeah.
So I guess let's just jump right in with a really easy first question. What was your first drift car?
First drift car was actually purchased here at Adrenaline. I came in one day after I've done RC since the 80s, something like that, but never into drift.
So you're not green, but
no, bashers and all that kind of stuff. In fact, I started with the XRT after couple decades not playing around with RC cars.
Okay.
But I came in here after watching some YouTube videos of these RC drift cars. I thought, man, that's really cool, but it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
And you guys had just set up a track over here in the back. And I came in and I just had a bunch of questions. And I recall asking you, what do you think of this? I don't know if I should get this. Is it going to cost this much? All that kind of stuff. And so I ended up buying a Yokomo YD2Z kit.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
And I took that home and I didn't open the box. I just sort of got back on YouTube and watched. I said, I think I'm going to want something a little more sophisticated than this. And I don't know why. I just said, I want something a little bit more challenging. So I came back, I think, a day or two later and said...
And I remember this. I remember you walked back through the door and everything was still sealed in the package. And I was like, oh, man, he's not into it. He's just going to return everything and I'm never going to see him again. But
yeah. So I came back and said, I think I want that. And I pointed up on the wall and you had a Yokomo SD 1.0 because it had a lot of variations to it. 3-gear transmission, 4-gear transmission, the whole thing. I said, I think I want to learn about that.
Right.
So we exchanged it and I took that home and did my first build out of the blue, just never building or driving even a drift car before then. And then I came back here and then I had no idea what a body, so I'm driving without a body and all that kind of stuff. And just smacking into everything.
Right. Yeah.
That's terrible.
I mean, I think that's kind of the stepping stone that everybody has to go through. You know, you're going to smack the wall. It's just the life.
So I just ended up going into sponge mode. I would just ask anybody every question I could ask. And so a couple of the regular guys here were nice enough to answer my questions.
Right.
To the point where I was saying, let me measure every single measurement you have on here. I was just sucking down any piece of information I can get. And really the key thing I learned is, of course, about geometry and setup and all that stuff, but was just spend time driving. And that was really, no matter what I did, as long as I drove terribly, it didn't make any difference.
Right. And I commonly preach that to newbies.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I can sell, tune, or do for you that will substitute time on the track.
Seat time is the way to go.
Absolutely.
So it just started with that, and I ended up spending enough time where I felt comfortable to go around the track. And then it sort of started from there. At that point, I started getting interested in how other cars were built. I mean, I built that SD 1.0 and had fun tuning it and tried various things there. And then I started looking at other cars, like, oh, there's MST cars. Oh, there's this thing called the Gong. There's this Rhino Shark that came out. And at that time, I think the RDX was just starting to get popular.
Yeah.
In fact, the shop here didn't even offer RDXs. And I remember
at the time,
Colin and I go, you really ought to get this RDX car in here. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, it shows up a couple weeks later And of course, it's sort of been a very popular car from there. And I love the RDX as well.
Right. So what was the motivating factor to starting your own drift brand? You stated you came in, you bought your drift car, you started getting infatuated with it, soaking up all the information like a sponge, just driving, and chatting up the guys on the track.
Yeah.
And then finally you said, oh, I'm gonna start my own brand. What was the catalyst there?
It's interesting. I actually, before I even got to that point, I started getting in this mode of collecting art drift cars. I just got every one I could get my hands on.
Yep.
Bought a Shark.
Okay.
Got a Gom. Got MSTs, all the MSTs I can find.
Yep.
Just to learn how they put things together and why they did what they did. But I came into the track one day, and one of the drivers here showed me his chassis that he had modified. It was an MC1 because I wanted to be more flexible and I wanted to be lighter. And he picks up his car and he shows me all these cuts he made in there with a Dremel. I said, "Oh, that's kind of cool. It looks awful, but it's kind of cool."
Right.
And he just started laughing. I started laughing with him. I said, I think I could probably help you with that. And at the time, I have a long history doing some other crazy silliness, which I can go into here in a moment. But I went back and I decided, hey, I think I could cut carbon, but I need a CNC machine. So I actually acquired a CNC machine.
Right.
I went back and taught myself more CAD. I knew a little bit of CAD before that. And then CAM, so the computer-aided manufacturing.
Okay, so that's between CAD and the actual machining of it, right?
Right.
That's a tool path.
CAD does the design, makes your models. CAM does the steps that turns your models and instructs the machine how to cut your model.
Okay, understood.
So cutting the carbon. So I think probably within a month or two after that, I came back and says, "What do you think of this?"
Yeah.
So I handed him a new chassis and he just loved it. He goes, "Oh, that's perfect." And then other people started looking over, "Oh, what's that?"
Right.
And next thing you know, I have people just ask me, "Hey, can you make me this? Can you make me that?" And it just sort of spiraled from there. I said, "Oh, people seem to enjoy what I'm making."
Yeah.
I, at the time, had decided to go with the honeycomb theme. That was sort of coincidental that Reeve D actually uses the honeycomb on their boxing.
Yes.
On their box. Maybe it was subliminal, I don't know, but it just ended up being the pattern I ended up using, and it's now the theme throughout all of the chassis that I make. But
Right.
I started just making more and say, "Oh, can you make one for this car and then this car?" Next thing you know it, I have chassis for probably 20 plus different cars.
So what was the first chassis you made that you didn't exclusively make for somebody? You said, okay, I'm gonna step outside of just doing these custom jobs for people, and let me try the retail side of things and see how it goes. What was the first chassis?
It started with a chassis which I called the Bingo Wasp Max.
Okay.
That was a very early
I
chassis.
remember that, yeah.
And my idea for that was I love the RDX.
Yep.
So much when that first came out, but I wanted something lighter. So I said, I'm going to make another chassis that's going to be a little bit lighter, but I also like my YD2.
Right.
And you know what? I think they share a lot of the same hold patterns.
Yep.
And so I designed a chassis that had both. I could put any YD2 front end or back end and any RDX front end or back end on the same chassis. I called it the Max.
Yep.
And so I started building that, and people like that as well.
Yeah.
But everyone kept saying, "Well, what can I do for this chassis?" I go, "Use the Max." "Well, what can I do for that chassis?" "Oh, use the Max."
Right.
It started getting confusing because
Right.
it was too many things solved by one product.
Right.
And so I decided to split it. So now I have the Wasp RDX and I have the Wasp
Yeah,
YD2. And then also, I mean, the RTRs were selling really well. MST has been around, and said, I think I need to make one for the MST. I didn't actually have one. I might have had one at that time, but
Right.
I decided too much plastic, let's lighten this up.
Right.
And then I made the MST chassis.
Which is a story of itself, right? Because
It kind of became more popular.
I think so. Yeah, I think that was probably the single most popular bingo product that we sold for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
To the point where I think it started to get this online following, and you were doing. So we were talking about the RMX chassis and the popularity of it. And I remember the early days of the bingo chassis, and you bring them in, and I would load them up into our inventory.
Yeah.
And by the time that I got them loaded into inventory and ready to go onto the wall, I'd be walking to the wall, and we would get a ding from our printer, printing out the inventory, saying, "Hey, this one just sold," and it'd be like, "Okay," and they would sell out within minutes to hours of you bringing this in. So I think to this day, the RMX chassis is still the number one selling chassis
Yeah.
for like an upgraded any drift car that you offer a chassis for. And to speak on it, this is my personal RMX, and mechanically, this was the single best upgrade I've made for just performance overall. Aesthetics aside, I really love the way it looks. The performance totally changed the way this car drove, and really turned it into something special.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and it worked out nicely. I think the RMX definitely has been the top seller because there's just a lot of RTRs, and it makes a big impact when you shed all that extra weight from the plastic. But it's also let me evolve into kind of a product line that I've decided to homogenize it, I guess is one way of stating it.
Okay.
Like I built the battery cage for the RMX, mostly because, as you know, I can't stand the RMX battery cage and those pins that bite you every time you pick up the car. Drove me nuts. So I made a very simple battery cage. It's nothing special, designed for the RMX. But then I decided to, on all the chassis that I make, have those exact same mount holes available, even if that car didn't natively have it. So that I call it now the universal battery holder. So that'll work on all the Wasp chassis. Basically, every Wasp chassis can use that. And then I developed, people were asking for a high CG. They wanted to put the battery up high. So I originally developed that for the RDX. Because the RDX has these four holes right here, 20 millimeters apart. Designed a system for that, and then said, hey, people want these on other cars. So I now added those holes to every single chassis, so you can use the high CG on all the chassis.
So not only the universal battery tray, but the high CG battery tray will work across your product.
Across all the product lines,
That's super cool.
And then I did the similar thing with the bumpers, though. There's MST bumpers, then there's Yokomo bumpers, and there's DC-10 bumpers. Mostly because their hole patterns are different. The Yokomo is the most universal. On almost every chassis I make, I try to put a Yokomo front end hole pattern on it, even if it didn't have it. So you can put a Yokomo bumper.
And I think that's just from an ease of use standpoint and making things a little bit more.
All the MSTs stay with the MST. All the Yokomos stay with basically everything else. And my bumpers are designed to be carrying handles. If you haven't noticed that, they're specifically made so you can pick up your car easily from the front or the back.
And it just so happens that I only have, I think, on my YD2, I have your front bumper on that. But very convenient, looks great, doubles as a carrying handle. Which is awesome. Cool. Well, so that pretty much goes over the history and how you got into, the RC drift scene and now have started your own RC drift brand, which has now kind of taken on a life of its own. So the name itself, Bingo RC Designs. What's the jam on that? What's the story?
It goes way back. I know it's kind of an odd name, but it goes way back to when I first got married. This is back in the late 80s.
Okay, you'll take yourself a little bit. That's fine.
People realize I'm much older than I behave. How's that? But I did something really dumb. I forgot what it was. But my wife turns to me and says, "You're such a bingo head for doing that." And she just pulled it out of the air. I said, "Oh, I kind of like that name." So I latched onto that, and then I decided to make my online gamer tag as Captain Bingo. So I used to do a lot of online gaming, like when I was younger, and I was known as Captain Bingo online. And then I said, I'm just going to stick with that. Eventually, I mean, going way back, I started with the T-Max in my radio control world. Then I got into boats and gasoline-powered boats. And modelgasboats.com is actually a website I originally started years ago. And I used to, here in the DC area, race model control boats. And I formed a racing team called Bingo Racing with the boats. I actually still have a hull that has that logo on the side of it. But that didn't last very long because it's just too hard to find water where you can drive these super loud boats on. I tend to get into all these various hobbies. My background is actually in software development. I did healthcare software development for 35 plus years. I've been fortunate enough to retire early, so I retired relatively young, but that's my history. I do software development. But I love my hobbies. I've always been interested in engineering. So one of my side hobbies, and people may recognize this name, I got into airsoft with my sons. And it follows this pattern. We get into this thing. I was trying to do it with my kids. We had a good time. But I'd look at the equipment saying, this is kind of interesting. I think I can make something better. So I started getting into airsoft and all the airsoft equipment I would make enhancements to it.
Okay. Yeah.
I got so far into that I actually decided, hey, I think I can make a better airsoft gun.
Okay.
And so I went from scratch and developed my own airsoft gun called the AS5. Again, some folks may recognize the fact that I used to be called Bingo Airsoft Works,
Okay.
where I would actually take airsoft guns and upgrade them and fix them and put HPA engines into them.
Okay. Okay.
And then I transitioned from that into Bingo Airsoft Designs. Sounds familiar?
Yeah.
Where I developed this AS5 gun. You'll actually, those brave enough to go out and search YouTube for Bingo Airsoft Designs, you'll see me talk about my past life doing that.
Right.
But it was a fully 3D printed airsoft gun
Right.
that was in some ways too powerful. It was banned at a few fields.
Okay.
It held 3,000 rounds. It was HPA powered.
Okay.
It could fire like 90 rounds a second. It was really kind of crazy.
Wow. So that's a world I know nothing of.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
But it's funny. I found some drifters who have also in airsoft, and I go,
Yeah.
"Weren't you Bingo?" I said, "Yeah, I used to do all the airsoft stuff." So I have
Okay.
a long history in airsoft. I ended up getting out of that as work got too busy for me.
Sure.
And then I was fortunate enough to be able to retire, and that's when I ended up getting back into RCs and drift cars.
Okay.
So the Bingo name tag has followed me all the way through, and now I'm doing all of this
Okay.
for fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of a passion project, and now it's
Yeah.
sort of a business.
Yeah.
Well, it is a business. And yeah, it absolutely is. I think for our shop here, it's definitely been a bit of a revolution for us because, we started with drifting in 2021. And then, whenever you came on board with Bingo, it definitely took us to the next level. It took, the local community to the next level.
Yeah,
So
the interest
it's
has been
really
spiking in the last couple of years. I mean, I started cutting chassis, I guess, October 23.
cool. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
only been a couple of years.
Right.
I quickly got into getting the CNC machines, and my workshop at my house in my basement has been completely taken over with all of this stuff. And someday I'll make a video of how I cut all these chassis and in the process I go through. It's quite fascinating, honestly, to control all the carbon and everything. But yeah, it hasn't been that long, but I sort of fell into this drifting rabbit hole. I enjoy the hobby. I enjoy all the people around it.
Yeah.
And just like I did with airsoft, I enjoy just giving back to the community.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I
And that's
enjoy
something that I can state quite often. You're in this shop here, 3 to 4, maybe 5 times per week. And you're always in the back, talking and helping out the drift guys. So, you're definitely kind of a pillar in the drift community, at least the local drift community for us here. Now you're branching out,
right.
which is really cool. Because you started selling with us in late 2023 into 2024, and now you've branched out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Adrenaline's the OG track. I started here, but I also now manage and develop drift inventory for Key City Hobbies, which is just north of me. They're up in Maryland. So I built the track up there with the help from some folks here, and manage all the drift that goes on up there.
Right.
It's kind of funny now that I go either to Key City or to Adrenaline all the time. I'm back and forth all the time. But all the local drivers go, "Do you ever drive anymore?" It's like, not as much as I'd like to. I do. I enjoy it, but I'm actually finding I really enjoy teaching people how to drive.
Right.
So I want to start some drift clinics up at my track and anywhere else where you just come and you get people who are just getting into it.
Yeah.
And you get the more experienced drivers who aren't there to do hot laps and to show everybody up, but will just sit there and help you learn how to drive or help you tune your car. And I think that's the only way to really keep the momentum going and the community growing is to get new people in.
Yeah, I think that would be a super valuable service because it can be a bit intimidating, walking into, any drift track and even here, which is pretty small. We've had new people like, "Oh, I don't think I want to jump on the track just yet." And I'm like, well, there's no way to do it. You just have to kind of jump in.
Yeah.
And the experienced guys are aware. They'll make way for you. Don't worry about that. But it's still, I get it. It's intimidating.
But if you smack someone's car that they spent $3,000 on, they're not usually
going to be
that.
happy about it.
Yeah. Early on, when I was still learning how to drive, I would come out here, and Tuesday nights at the time were the hot drive nights. All the guys were in here. And I'd be driving, and it got to a point where I just went to the side, I picked up my car, and I just stood there like this. And I just watched everybody drive. And one of the drivers came up and says, "Don't worry, we've all driven with each other for the last year or two.
Yep.
You'll get there."
Yeah.
And eventually I was able to now participate in those trains
Yep.
and have no problem. But
Sure.
you're right, I was intimidated. I didn't want to damage anyone's car.
Right.
So we need to make an environment for new drivers who don't feel intimidated, who are welcome to go smack up things. In fact,
Right.
anytime I bring my cars to the track, I hand my transmitter to more people, to everyone's in there. Here, drive this. Oh, I don't want to damage your car. I don't care. Just drive it.
Right.
And then they go, wow, this is really good. And suddenly they feel like they're better drivers only because the car is at least tuned to drive well.
Absolutely. If they're handed something that they're already automatically set up for success for, and then in a friendly, non-threatening way, hey, it doesn't matter. Go drive it. If you smack into something, not a big deal, right? I think that's
These aren't bashers. They don't break that easily.
right. There's not normally, right?
No.
Normally in this case on the drift track and the prep surface, it's pretty safe out there for them to get out there.
But I love drifting. It's the most relaxing activity. I've actually become more. I almost enjoy watching good drifting more than driving now.
Absolutely.
I will put I give the guys some of the Hachi prototypes, and they were out there just doing lap after lap, just on each other's door, and I just loved it.
Yeah.
Do you want to drive? I go, no, I don't want to drive.
Right.
I want to watch. Frankly, these younger kids with better skills just drive it and enjoy it, and I get just as much joy out of doing it.
Absolutely. It's really a pleasure to see somebody who is super talented get on the track, and a couple of the guys get on the track
And you're just like,
and really put it on the door.
it's really
it's
fun.
fun to watch. So.
Enjoy watching all of that.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add about your origin story of bingo, or any other fun anecdotes, like your wife making fun of you?
Yeah, everybody makes fun of me for various odd reasons. No, I enjoy it. I like making things for people to enjoy. So I've done a lot of customizations to some of these chassis. Like you'll have special names on there. I have had to cut back. I still have people occasionally ask me for that. Unfortunately, it's now become a time crunch.
Right.
I'm not a big company. Don't be deceived here. It's me.
It's you. Yeah, it's just you.
Doing everything, including creating the manual, the packaging, the shipping, the cutting, and all that stuff. Yeah. So I'm doing my best to keep up with folks and enjoy it. And the Hachi is the latest thing that's come out, and we'll be out here very shortly, and that has taken up a good portion of my time. But hopefully that'll get more people into the hobby.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. So
I think we'll hopefully enjoy where this all goes. It's getting very popular.
Right. Awesome. Well, Rudy, I really appreciate you sitting down and giving us the time to learn the Bingo RC Designs origin story and how it all started, and a little bit of your background, because like I said, multiple people have asked me, and I can give them kind of the keynotes, but to have it all in one spot, I think it's really, really cool. So
good. Well, I hope people enjoy the products we produce.
Yeah.
And keep sliding. It's really fun.
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm Colin for Adrenaline RC Racing. You can find the full line of Bingo RC designs on adrenalinrcracing.com, and have fun sliding. Thanks, guys.